Let's go ahead and get started, Jen.
Mike Dolson,
I'm here.
Tom McDonald,
Here.
Jennifer Finley, here, Jim Molitor, Carol Langford, Danielle Matt, Bing Matt, James Steele Jr., Martin Charlo, Len Two Teeth, Lenny Strahan.
Thank you, Jen. Jennifer, could you give us a prayer this morning?
Today I say prayers of thanks for everybody who's here today. And I also say prayers of thanks for our land. And I pray that our hearts be strong so we can protect the land and protect all the things that protect us. And I pray that our hearts can be strong and our words can be strong to do good work for all of our people and people who feel forgotten, people who feel lost. That we do good work for them and that we do work that protects the most vulnerable people of our tribe. And I say prayers of thanks for all the young people of our tribe. And I pray that their hearts may be strong so that they take our places one day and that they continue our traditions of protecting our land, protecting this place, and protecting our sovereignty. Lem Lemsh.
Thank you, Jennifer. We have minutes from May 13th. Take a look at those, please. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, on page 5, Harold made a motion to approve the legal representation with NARV. And it's got listed Carol as seconding it also, but I think it might have been me that seconded that one. Thank you.
I think you're right. Thank you. If there aren't any other changes, I'd welcome a motion. Motion by Len to approve the minutes with corrections, second by Tom. All in favor? Unanimous. We have an agenda today. Any additions? We have 4 walk-in.
I have one each.
Carol, did you say something? Carol.
Mr. Chairman, I have an issue in executive session that I would like to ask Patty Hibbler to stay back. It's about a tribal member that needs assistance.
Any other addition? Entertain a motion to have the agenda with additions. Motion by Tom. Second by Bing. All in favor? Unanimous. Let's look at our walk-ins. Who's first?
Don Ewing. And I have Jody Perez on for this issue as well.
Good morning, Don. Welcome. Don, could you turn the microphone on in front of you, please? Yeah, perfect.
Better?
Yeah.
All righty. I have a problem with housing. Housing showed up on April 19th I have a car that belongs to my sister who is in kidney dialysis up in Kalispell. Plus, she's dealing with lung cancer that has spread to her hips. I'm up there 5 days out of 7, all week long with her. They showed up and they said, we have a car here that doesn't have tags on it that's parked in your yard. And I said, I understand that. I'm in the process of being granted power of attorney so I can go get the tags and file for a lost title. I have someone that wants to purchase the vehicle. They said, okay, they gave me paperwork and told me that I had till the 9th of May to let them know what I was doing. And I called them on the 6th of May, 4 days early, and told them I was granted power of attorney and I have applied for a lost title as well as a legal registration for it. They showed up yesterday with no notice with a tow truck, took the car and told me they're sorry. I said, this is the way you treat your elders after I complied with everything that you people asked for in a proper time frame, even 4 days early from your deadline, and you just show up here out of nowhere and confiscate this property and then tell me I have to deal with the tow yard for the daily towing of this vehicle? I said, and where am I supposed to get the money to do this? I said, I've lived here for over 12 years out at Clarice Paul. I have gotten awards from housing, how I keep my property up, because I'm very proud and thankful for what the tribe has given me. But to show up and confiscate something when I applied and did everything that they asked, and all she could tell me with Sharon Earthboy was, I could have moved the car. I said, I live out here with 2 fields on both sides of me. Move it where? It's not an eyesore. It's not wrecked. It's not nothing. I told you what I was waiting for. They're sorry. Boom, went the car. That was it. And what gives them the right? Like I told when I called housing, I said, I have lived here for over 12 years. I pay my rent on time every month. I don't have the right to have property of my own in my own yard, especially when I explained to you what was going on. She didn't care. And I don't think that's proper the way to treat an elder, especially how I have always been taught that we respect our elders and we go the extra distance for our elders. Now, I could see if I didn't comply, I could see if I was a problem with these people, but it was nothing like that. And I want to know what gives this woman the right to just show up on my property with a tow truck, no notice, no nothing, after I complied with what they asked. She told me, well, they were supposed to tell me. I said, they didn't tell me anything. I called and responded like you guys asked me to do in a proper time frame, and then you show up here out of nowhere and confiscate property that doesn't belong to you, and then tell me I have to pay the tow yard? I don't see anything right in this.
Don, I definitely agree with you. I hear Jody is on. Jody, are you available?
Yes, hi, good morning. So this vehicle was first tagged last April.
It was never tagged until this April.
It has on April 29th of 2024. And so that's when this process started. And then more recently, because we had given you a year to take care of it and it wasn't taken care of, we re-tagged it this past April also. And we put an expiration date on when it would be, the deadline. And it hadn't been taken care of by the deadline. And so we called the tow company and they come when they're available. And the reason why that we have the authority to do this is there's a policy called inoperable vehicles, and that's part of the lease. So we are tasked with ensuring that vehicles don't sit and be inoperable in the home sites, and we only have control over our low rent units. And you had mentioned that there were other vehicles that are inoperable around you, and those are out of our jurisdiction. So it's our job to enforce the policies of the lease. And I am sorry for the situation that you and your sister are in, but it's our jobs to enforce the lease. And it's not that the vehicle was confiscated. We just had to have it removed because the deadline had come up. And so it's just sitting with the tow company now. So it's not that you don't have access to it. Once you get your paperwork in line, then you get it from the tow company.
And who's going to pay for the towing? And it's sitting there. You people did not tell me that if it was not done by the 9th, you told me to give you a call and let you know. The woman you sent out was Sharon Wall. She did not say anything like that to me whatsoever. She told me to let her know by the 9th what I was doing to rectify the situation. And I did that.
Okay. Do you have like the letter or something? Or what we Yeah, did you read the notice?
I have the notice right here with me. And the notice states, inoperable expired tags, please contact Sharon Wall before 4/9/25 so I can come out and verify if the tags are current and if it's operable. Nothing about coming to tow it. When I called you people and let you know what was going on, that I was just granted power of attorney and that I had applied for a lost title and a registration. Not a problem whatsoever. You show up 5 days later and you tow the vehicle. And you tell me it was because you people didn't communicate properly? That's not my problem.
No, I'm not saying we didn't communicate.
You should be able to at least let people know the full aspect of it, not just portions as you go along. You wanted compliance, I complied. Now, who's going to pay for the vehicle once I do get the paperwork in for sitting in the tow yard? They told me it would take 3 to 6 weeks for the lost title and the new registration to get to me. Do you think I have money like that? I don't. And being an elder of this tribe, I don't appreciate being singled out and treated this way. If this is the way you treat your people, then I'm out.
No, that's not. I'm sorry that you feel that you're singled out, but we've tagged 60 vehicles.
Tagged that car last year. That is a lie. You came out and talked to me about it. I told you what was going on with my sister back then. You sent a man out and he understood everything. Never wrote on the vehicle like you did on the 19th of this April whatsoever. And then 6 months later, you show up again out of nowhere and take the vehicle after compliance was done, which you asked for. And it's not my problem if you can't inform your people of what policy is and how to proceed with policy. But I don't think it's right what you did to me. And I take very much offense of it.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that.
Get it.
Dawn? Let Jody answer, please.
This is Susan Perez-Tennis, and she is our occupancy manager. And it's under her wheelhouse of the housing authority to enforce the lease. And so she has some of the minutes.
Hey Dawn, so I was with Gary last year when the vehicle was tagged last April. And I remember we did speak with you because you had, again, complained about the neighbors across the way having stuff. And I, notified you then that that's not a housing authority unit and we're only able to do things with the housing authority units. And at that time, you said you understood that we have the inoperable vehicle policy and that you would need to get the vehicle either tagged or removed or operable. And then unfortunately, we did not follow up within the 30 days as, we have a tag date and then we have a tow date. So again, this April is when Shannon tagged it. And that has a tag date of, it would have been in April, she tagged it. And then it gives you 30 days to get it operable and tagged and all of that. And then they did give you a couple extra days there at the end. So the tow date was May 9th. and still it was not tagged as it needs to be. And so then they did go ahead and move forward and let the tow company know. And so, you know, they gave you a few more days, but it still was not done as it was required.
You say that you tagged the car last year. Where's the paperwork where you tagged it?
So
And if you didn't follow up on it, is that my problem because you don't follow up on?
and that's why we re-tagged it in April. We weren't going to tag it, or we weren't going to get it towed, you know, in April because we tagged it a year prior. We're like, no, we need to re-tag, give 30 days. And so, you know, the last April one isn't really the issue because we didn't tag, or we didn't tow based off of that. So they re-tagged it. And so, you know, additional time was given. And, you know, we tried to work with you. But like Jody said, we did tag 60 vehicles. So we have a whole bunch out there that we're, you know, people are working on getting operable or getting tagged and all of that. And we do have the lease that we have to enforce. And, you know, that's where we are with that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the bottom line is that the vehicle has been sitting there for over a year. It hasn't been changed. You know, your sister isn't on your household. It's just been parked there. And part of our lease requires that inoperable vehicles are removed. So my staff is doing their job to work with getting those vehicles removed. And I know that it's bad timing for us because of your sister's situation, but we still have to do our jobs.
And I understand that you have a job to do, but when someone is in compliance with you and letting you know what the situation is, I don't think as being an elder, it's asking too much for you people to let me know what your policy is and what you're planning on doing. I worked in the fastest time frame that I could in my situation that I am dealing with my sister, but evidently it wasn't good enough for you and it wasn't quick enough. I can only do what I can do, and I thought that I covered my bases. And when I called to notify you people what was going on and that I was granted power of attorney and what I had done and applied for a lost title and a registration, it wasn't a problem. No one said, no, Don, we're going to come tow it. That's not what we want. No one said anything whatsoever. Thank you for calling, Don, is what I was told.
Okay. Just 1 second, okay?
Hold it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Don, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
This is kind of an unusual circumstance for Don, and I understand housing needs to follow their guidelines and their rules, but so here's where we're at. The car's already impounded. I think at this point in time, and we all know that elders live on a fixed income. When an additional expense like this shows up, they have no way of covering that, and then expected to make it through the end of the month. You know, as I understand, Don, you're taking care of this is your sister's car, and
Yes,
she's in the hospital.
I was just granted power of attorney with all of her affairs, her medical, everything.
Yeah, I think at this point in time, I think our solution is we try to assist you through one of our programs to get that car out of impound so it does not draw daily fees while it's sitting in there.
Exactly.
And it compiles higher and higher. But
yeah, what they told me when they towed the car land was they told me that I had to deal with the tow truck company now.
Yeah, and I understand that, but I think we need to just focus on trying to get your car out, okay. And then you can focus on trying to get it tagged and licensed and everything like that, so you're back in compliance with housing. You know, otherwise we're gonna sit here and argue all day about the guidelines that housing is required to follow, and like Jody said, the staff was just doing their job.
Yeah, and I understand.
And I know they don't like doing it anymore than they have to, but
and I like the girl that showed up, Lynn, she was in tears.
Yeah.
She told me, Don, I have to, Sharon Wallace, she was in tears. She says, it's not right, Don, but I have to do my job. And like I told her, I don't blame you. You have a job to do. I understand that, but where's the communication there?
Yeah.
That's the part I don't understand.
At this point in time, I'd just like to ask you to work with Patricia Hibbler and see if we can't find a program that can help you.
All right. Thank you, Leonard.
Help you with your vehicle.
Okay.
Jody, go ahead.
I was just going to say on the notice, the first sentence says this vehicle has been deemed to be inoperable and or unregistered. And then it says, if the vehicle is still inoperable and or unregistered in 30 days, it will be towed off Housing Authority property and you may be assessed lease violation points. So that's our way of communication, is we let you know this is what the expectation is. And you didn't have it done within the time frame, and that's why it was towed. We told you that's what was going to happen.
Was not told that.
It's on the notice. This is a copy of the notice.
Have the notice right here. It says nothing about towing the vehicle. Just call Sharon Wall before 4959 so I can come out and verify that it has current tags and operable. Nothing about towing it, nothing about anything like that.
Jody,
Look right below.
Jody, I believe the notice that Dawn has is not the same notice that's in your hand.
Well, that one would have been left at her unit the day it was tagged.
Yeah, this is the copy that we give the original to the client, and then we keep a copy for our record. And she's reading the handwritten part, but this is a typed message.
I never received a typed message from any of you.
Okay.
I think Len's suggestion is the
That
thing
would
to
be
do.
great. That would be great.
I'm
I would
sorry this happened to you, Dawn. I really.
Well, I appreciate you people taking the time to listen to me, because if this happens to somebody else, it's not right to treat our people this way. It's not, especially when they comply and try and do everything they can. And I explained the situation to them too. I explained everything to them.
Understood.
Okay.
Carol?
Hey, Dawn, I didn't say anything because my sister's involved, and so I need to
That's
listen.
fine. I
And I
understand.
appreciate you calling me and Lynn also.
I appreciate you both of you helping me so much. You good?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Definitely connect with Patricia Hibbler
Okay, so in the meantime, the car would just be staying there at the tow yard, correct?
until somebody makes payment. I'm sure that's the case.
Okay, sounds
So,
good.
yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for hearing me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in, Dawn. Jennifer?
Can we go into executive for the next walk-in? And if Dawn could wait out on the couches, Patty could speak with her after her executive
Yeah.
Wait
walk-in?
outside.
Well, Patricia Hibbler is who we want you to talk to, and she's gonna be in a couple sessions. If you could wait for her out in the lobby. She'll
Okay,
be
I'll
out
wait
in a
right out here
minute.
for her. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dawn. We'll go out of regular into executive. And
Are you done? Done with me?
thank you, Jody.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Good morning.
What time are you coming back?
Well, welcome, Greg. Ricky. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, and members of council. So I have two resolutions for consideration today. The first one represents the motion on the 4 members for the per capita, and the second one is the signature authority for tribal credit. So in front of you this morning is the action for the resolution to address the 4 members who were missed in the December per cap, and we've discussed this in executive, the desire to make up for that. On April 22nd, council moved to make an exception for the single individual. And so part of the discussion point and action this morning would be to revoke the action taken on April 22nd for the single member, and then to adopt this resolution for all four of those young people.
Does anybody have questions? We would entertain a motion to revoke the April 22nd motion. Motion by Lynn to revoke the action from April 22nd. Second by Tom. All in favor? We're unanimous with Carol out of the room. And the second part of this is a motion to go forward with the resolution authorizing the payment to the four specific members. Motion by Tom. Second by Bing. All in favor? We have unanimous with Carol out of the room.
Thank you all. And we'll direct the central accounting group to do this as early as possible. We're doing this as a one-off payment rather than lumping it in with August so that it can be segregated on our books for accountability purposes. The second part of the presentation and second resolution today, and I've invited the new department head at Tribal Credit, Kirky, to join us this morning. We're simply requesting a resolution to change the signature authority to comport with new leadership there at the local banks. We do business with Eagle and First Interstate. We've redacted the account numbers here. There are two signatures required on those accounts. The first three are enumerated here, and those would be the first signers. And then the second signers would be any of these three. And we've put the new department head in there as one of those authorized second signers.
Motion by Jimmy to approve the resolution of new signatures. Second by Tom. All in favor? Danielle? We're unanimous with Carol out of the room.
Thank you all. Have a good
Thank
morning.
you, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cricky.
Pardon me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, before you go, Tom has a
Thank you.
question.
Thank you. Good to see you, Cricky. On the job. Really appreciate that.
Thank you very much. It feels good.
Just wanted to reflect on a conversation we had the other day here at council, and it's probably really important for the credit department to consider these things. So I just wanted to make sure that I voice this concern to you, Cricky, and that's as I look at the president's budget and look at what Congress is looking at in total elimination of energy assistance, low income, reductions in food stamps and all those things, where our members, the customers that you're serving, maybe be faced with some really hard choices of making a home payment on their loan or feeding their family or paying for their power bill. So it's really important for us to keep our people in our homes and not make people homeless. So it'd be really nice to be able to make sure that the credit committee and through your diligence is having those very important things in consideration, because the credit department is set up for the sole purpose of really providing homes for our members and making sure that we're successful doing that, and to keep them in their home wherever and whenever, however possible. So just really wanted to make sure that's high on your priority. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Cricket.
Thank you
Tom.
very much, Tom. On my priority list also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Ruth. Morning. You're not going to make Patty sit with you?
Next. But I still can't scroll. That's all right. Requesting your approval of the resolution for modification 6 to the total appropriations. We are making some Um, Budget reallocations in the general fund, we've reduced per capita. We are going to include 11,000 in fish and game. You authorized the administrative hunt earlier this year, and the expense was recorded in a program that it's not attributable to. So we want to increase fish and games budget in order to cover those expenses. That's that $11,000 modification. The reduction applied to per capita to achieve that, as well as previous reallocations, and also to increase the amounts currently allocated to tribal earmarks. And why can't I scroll back up? And I'm trying to go back up. In Indian Affairs, we are going to allocate for awarded funds for that total increase of 3.1 million. And then we're going to increase total contracts and grants by 12.5. So total increases of 15.6 million. Total appropriations now 355,973,206. There was also errors in totals that were off in modification 5, so that be it further resolved. First one is correcting those, and both the total appropriations were mandatory as well, and now reflecting corrected totals from mod 5 was actually 340,309,686. Did I say 340 million or 340,000? 340 million, excuse me.
Questions for Ruth and Patty?
There,
Oh.
I just now see a second. There we go.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair.
There we go.
Ruth,
I hate seeing an error when I'm looking at it, but I misspoke. Go ahead.
just the question on the 11,000.
Yes,
was
sir.
that for extra staff time for the removal of animals? Is
That
what
was largely to reimburse for the hunter's expense and for the meat processing. There was no additional regular staff time that I've been told about that attributed to that.
Other
Also want to
questions?
mention that the reduction in per capita was applied to the increase in dire need, but that was done on the previous mod, so it's not showing up here. But you see that reduction in per capita right now.
If there aren't any other questions, I'd entertain a motion to accept the resolution. Motion by Tom. Second by Danielle. All in favor? We're unanimous with Carol out of the room. Tom.
Where Ruthie leaves. Question about updating the veterans. How frequently does that happen, Ruth? I mean, how do you do that? What's the story?
Very good question, Mr. Former Chairman. As I collect new names to go on there, I just more or less kind of choose a time when it would be appropriate to have our engraving folks come out and add those names in. I think I've collected perhaps 10 to 12 new names to go. Mhm. Did you have any in particular that you would alert me to?
No, I was just thinking, Memorial Day coming up. I thought,
Oh.
well,
Mhm.
I just wondered when the last update was. That's all.
Mhm.
Thank you.
We do, I try to have Charcusta publish a list of those that are in the memorialization part of that holiday, those that we lost during service. It's about, I used to know the number right off the top of my head. It's maybe between 15 and 20 that we've recorded as either killed in action or died while serving. So timely reminder, I want to have that published. And it's usually around the Veterans Day that we'll publish the entire list of the 1,400 plus names. I'm always seeking addition to the list and correction, of course, if anything is not properly in there. So kindly refer people to me if you ever hear those. Right.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Mark. Come on up. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, members of council. This morning I have for you 3 projects that have been out to bid and received some bid tabulations and 1 sole source contract to present to you. The first project this here is the Crow Pumping Plant project that Dewar has been working on. We received 3 bids. We actually had this split up into 2 separate projects trying to attract more attention. Did not quite pan out the way we wanted it to, but we did receive 3 qualifying bids. One from Battle Ridge Builders in Belgrade, Montana. One from Western Municipal Construction in Billings, and one from Prospect Construction in Missoula. The engineer's estimate on this project was 10 million for the total project, and that was the pumping plant itself, which is bid schedule 1, and about a 3/4 mile long pipeline, which was bid schedule 2. Prospect Construction did come in as the low bid on both bid schedules for a total of $7,768,000. So this morning I was seeking council approval to award this project to Prospect Construction.
Questions about the pumping plant contract? Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have we done business with this company before?
Yes, we have. They were the company that stepped in on the 31A canal chute project and took that on.
Their performance was?
Their performance was outstanding. Yep.
Any other question?
So in their bid, do they include the 3% Indian preference fee? Or is that just separate after where the contract is let?
Separated out. So on those fees, we've been excluding those from the price of the contracts, and the Division of Engineering and Water Resources has been actually paying those fees as a matter of, if we include the Indian preference fees as part of the bids, typically it gets raised up a certain percentage. So we've been.
So the Division of Water Resources pays those 3% fees? Is that what you just said? How long have we been doing this?
Since inception.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I thought the company always was responsible for that fee. I don't agree with the tribes having to pay that fee.
I don't disagree with you on that. There is I guess from a business perspective, if the contractor knows that they're going to bid, I'm going to use some easy numbers, $10 million on a project, and that's going to cost them an extra 3%, 5%, whatever it is, that they will mark that up an additional 2% to cover their administrative fees. So
we're always paying the fees, Len. If you look at any contract that comes in, Mark's exactly right. They mark up their bid by that amount, no matter what. We always end up paying that. And if what Mark's saying is true, that if we enforce it on them and they jack it 5% rather than just 3%, it's costing. That's the crux of it. I know exactly what.
It always.
Other questions? Entertain a motion to accept the low bid from Prospect Construction on the pumping plant and pipeline project. Motion by Tom. Second by Bing. All in favor? We're unanimous.
Mark, do you work closely with our Indian Preference Office to making sure that they're in compliance with hiring tribal members?
I am in pretty steady communication with Melinda on
Okay,
all these projects, yes. I invite her to pre-construction meetings and everything, so there's a very open line of communication there.
okay. Yeah, Mr. Chairman and members of the council, I think it's imperative that we collect a report on these projects, especially these multi-million-dollar projects, to assure that they are hiring our tribal members and our tribal member contractors, because we do have a lot of contractors that have belly dumps, ones that have excavators that they need to be utilizing in these, and in most cases, they're not. So I just think that we need to have our Indian Preference Office come in and provide us that report, because as you guys all know, we get tribal members that are calling us and telling us, hey, why am I not working? We got this huge project going up in the Jocko. We have this huge project going up on the highway. And as the last couple projects that were mentioned, there were no tribal members out there, none, absolutely none. And so we're being told that there is, but I want to see verification. I want to see payrolls. I want to see our tribal members on these payrolls. Thank you.
Go ahead with your next project, Mark.
I looked at my packet this morning and it's kind of out of whack here, so I'm gonna scroll past a few things. All right, so this is the Jocko Pipeline project. We had phases 1 and 2 bundled as one project, and then phases 3 and 4 bundled as another project. So there was on phases 1 and 2, which is the larger of the two projects, included the concrete intake structures that are going to be built on the K Canal. We had 4 bids on that. The engineer's estimate was roughly, I'm gonna round off here, $8 million. Prospect Construction submitted a bid of 8.6, Knife River 8.7-ish, Western Municipal 9.8, and Williams Civil out of Missoula at 13.5 on this. Being this was a larger project, I actually staggered the bid opening on this. Kind of a game that we play with the contractors. So if they submit a bid on 1 and 2 and did not get a piece of the pie here, they could have a half an hour to go out to their pickup and redo their bid for 3 and 4 to try to improve their chances. And that's exactly what I saw on this. Prospect and Knife River, you can see their bids were within, a small percentage of each other. And after that bid opening, there was about a half an hour before we opened the bids on phases 3 and 4. Knife River went out to their pickup, calculated out how much Prospect underbid them, and then they took that figure, actually doubled it and deducted it from their 3-4 bid. So you'll see that one coming up here in just a second. On this one, this is another one I'd like council's approval to award the project to Prospect Construction at $8,596,330.81.
Questions? Entertain a motion on Chaco Pipeline 1 and 2. Motion by Jimmy. Second by Bing. All in favor? Glenn? Unanimous? Unanimous. Carol out of the room.
Right, where'd my paper go? Thank you. Come on, Mr. Mouse. All right, here we have the bid tab for phases 3 and 4 of the Jocko pipeline. This being the smaller of the jobs. Actually, we gained a bidder on here. We have Knife River submitting a bid, Prospect Construction, Western Municipal, Three Rivers Land Works, and Riverside Construction. The engineer's estimate on this one was $4.7 million. So Knife River now, after not getting anything on phase 1 and 2 and going out to their pickup, they are the low, go away, bid, $5,429,000, and Prospect was 5.6 million. So they kind of traded positions on the bid list here. 6.1 million from Western Municipal. Three Rivers Land Works was 6.7 million, and Riverside Contracting was pretty much 7 million. There was initially, these were all going to be opened at once, but after thinking it through, and when I say opened all at once, I was going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4 as one big bid opening, but then I decided to play the contractor game with themselves and do the offset. So there was, before that happened, Prospect would have got that also, but I don't know that would have been a good thing either. So Knife River is a well-established company. I have talked with the engineers and other projects that they have done and had no negativity said about Knife River doing a construction job. So on phases 3 and 4 of the Jocko pipeline project, I would ask council approval to allow the award to go to Knife River Corporation for $5,429,000.
Glenn?
Mark, do we have somebody on staff that inspects the projects after they're completed and saying, yeah, they met the criteria, let's go ahead and.
So we have construction oversight during construction, and then at the conclusion of construction, when everything is finalized, the engineer of record myself and the contractor will have a final inspection walkthrough and check that everything meets our intentions and specifications. And if it doesn't, then we do not sign off on the project and we make the contractor fix those, we'll just call them flaws,
Before the final payment
before
is made.
final payment will be made.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Do we have penalty clauses in our contract if they do not meet the deadline?
In most of the contracts, there is liquidated damages clauses with a project deadline date established where we'll have a date of significant completion, which means the structure or project will have to be operational. And then there'll be a second date of final completion. And if those aren't met, then the liquidated damages clause will kick in.
Elaborate on that liquidated damages. How does that work?
So it's wrote into actually both of the pipeline contracts that significant completion must be completed by April 6th, I believe is what is wrote in there, of next year. The pipeline project is such a significant impact to the irrigators of the Jocko Valley that if that thing is not done, there can't even be a trickle of water. So after the date of significant completion, the liquidated damages clause says that for the first seven days, I believe, it's $1,000 a day penalty. And if it's still not completed after the first 7 days and goes on, then I actually raise that fee up to $5,000 a day.
Okay.
Because I want that project done and completed on time without any interruption to the irrigators.
Okay. Where are you at with acquiring easements for the pipeline?
So most of those have been acquired. I believe right now the fee simples are sitting on the federal solicitor's desk awaiting their final signature and approval. We do have one landowner that's causing some static, and that would be AMM, which is the, I don't know, lack of a better term, we'll call them the vitamin factory on the highway. They have a lawyer in Missoula that is sending out emails of he wants to have a in-person meeting because his client doesn't think it's fair that they're not being compensated for, a right of way, and it's loading them with liability, and it's just a bunch of fuzz and static that is actually sitting on the federal solicitors too. We have forwarded all these emails, claims and everything to the federal team to say.
Are those holdups part of this project?
Yes. The good thing about it is the leg that runs north past the vitamin place is not, let's say, essential. I can actually cap the pipeline off and wait for finalization of that easement without affecting anything else.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Other questions? Tom? Motion by Tom to accept the Knife River bid. Second by Jimmy. All in favor? Unanimous with Carol out of the room. Well, I do have one question, Mark. You're playing this game with your contractors. Couldn't you basically say, well, you've all come in way over our estimate? Go back to your pickup?
I think I'd have to re-advertise it if I just got rid of everybody. Although I did give one a little bit of grief. I asked him if he needed any whiteout or a pencil sharpener on his way out the door. The final one I have to present today is a sole source contract for water meters, water flow meters on the Jocko Pipeline project. These meters would be installed on every farm delivery turnout off of the pipeline and measure the total amount of water that has been through that meter. There is 3 companies that manufacture these flow meters. I talked with all 3, researched the attributes, I guess, of each manufacturer's flow meter, and the reason that I chose Crone is not only the quality and the technology they have, but most flow meters require a certain amount of straight distance between placement of the flow meter. So both before and after where you're going to put the flow meter. The other manufacturers called for 5 times to 10 times the diameter of the pipe be a straight section. Corona's technology they have is a 0 diameter requirement before and after. Their meters are top notch. They're manufactured partially in the US and partially in Germany. Price wise, in getting some just initial conversations, the 2 other companies were, one was above, one was below. In talking with, so Northwest Instruments and Controls is basically acting as a intermediary. Corona sells their flow meters through their exclusive distributor line that they have. Northwest Instrument and Controls is the distributor for the Rocky Mountain region. In talking with the owner of that and him realizing the size of this project, the quantity of the flow meters I was looking for, not only now, but possibly into the future, he put us in direct contact with the manufacturer. So this quote is on Northwest Instruments and Controls letterhead, but this is directly from the manufacturer itself. Northwest Instrument and Controls is not making any money on this. So this is a manufacturer direct pricing. The initial quote that I had, let me scroll down here to the bottom. So you can see the quote price right now of $290,428.89 upon initially talking with the distributor, which was not Northwest Instrument and Control. They just got that distributorship 6 months ago. It was a different company. I got the quote from the different company, and that was $675,000 for the same meters I got right here on my list. But by getting put in contact with the manufacturer directly, you know, there's $300,000 savings right there. So that is why I chose to do a sole source on this contract. So I guess on this one, I would be asking for council approval to approve or award a sole source contract with Corone Incorporated for $294,2889.
Questions? Go ahead, Tom.
So Mark, I'm assuming then if there is meters to be placed in further projects besides this one, this is the type of meter you're going to go with?
Yes, sir.
And so Does the company know that also?
Yes, they do.
And so was that a factor in their, did you tell them how many you might be looking at in the future?
Not a firm number. One of the really best things that stands out about this particular flow meter, in addition to their accuracy and everything, is the ability to communicate remotely across a SCADA type system. So if the SCADA system or remote monitoring system is built up over time, all these flow meters could communicate to, and I'm gonna use this as an example, with the FIP office in the Jocko Valley, Arley there. They could actually install a 50-inch TV screen on the wall and watch each one of these flow meters and watch the gallons accumulate. So in talking with the manufacturer and them seeing this amount, they did ask in the future whether, if this was a single project or if across the project we would be doing this same thing. And I told them, I'm like, well, this is one project, but in the future, as we go into different areas, we don't exactly know what we're going to run into yet, but there is a good potential for more meters. That is one thing that is required by the compact, is on farm measurements. So
Other questions? Entertain a motion to enter a sole contract with, you said Crone?
Krona, I'm not sure if the E is silent or not.
Crone, speak German. For flow meters for the irrigation project. Motion by Bing. Second by Jimmy. All in favor? We're unanimous. Carol out of the room. Thank you, Mark.
I thank you, council.
Scott, you're up next. Come on up. Morning. Gonna talk about safety, huh?
Right, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of council. Today we have an update for you on the draft safety action report, safety action plan, and I have DJNA here with me. They've been in here before. We have one new face. I'll introduce Jason Rosenbrew. Yep. Is it not working? Let's see. Where? Oh, perfect. Okay.
Good morning, Chairman Dolson, members of the council. My name is Jason Rosenblum with DJNA. I am the project manager for the CSKT Safe Streets for All Safety Action Plan. I've stepped in as project manager for Jacqueline Smith, who presented to the council previously on this project. Earlier this month, we submitted the draft safety action plan to the CSKT. I'm excited to present a summary of that today. I'm looking forward to incorporating any feedback that the council may have into the final plan, which will be delivered in early June. After submission of the final plan, we would seek council adoption of the plan, which is a required step in the SS4A planning grant process. The Safe Streets for All Safety Action Plan aims to eliminate all fatal and serious injury collisions within the Flathead Reservation through safe, accessible, and reliable transportation. Through significant feedback from the public and from key stakeholders, the plan recommends a combination of infrastructure improvements, policy changes, and education efforts that are intended to lead to a significant reduction in fatal and serious injury collisions. In the most recent 5 years on record, there were just over 3,000 vehicle crashes in the Flathead Reservation. And among the 3,000 vehicle crashes, 49 resulted in fatalities and 83 serious injuries. This averages to about 10 roadway fatalities and 17 serious injuries every year. The Safety Action Plan sets an ambitious goal to reduce these figures by 50% by 2030, with the eventual goal of eliminating all serious and fatal collisions by the year 2040. Public outreach through this project has been a significant part of the plan. The public engagement effort consisted of public open houses, pop-up events, and an interactive comment map. The public was informed about these events and other opportunities to participate through numerous channels, including a dedicated website for the project, social media posts, press releases, and fact sheets. In addition to public input, we engage with stakeholders throughout the project, including tribal and county agencies, the Montana Department of Transportation, MDT, emergency services, educational institutions, community organizations, key businesses, and faith organizations. These stakeholders provided critical information that played a role in shaping aspects of the plan that ultimately led to the draft recommendations and strategies within the Safety Action Plan. In addition to public outreach and stakeholder engagement, the project team completed safety and equity analyses to draft the recommendations. To summarize the safety analysis, the most common crash type among all the 3,000 crashes were wildlife collisions, representing about a third of all collisions. And that was followed by fixed object collisions at 22%. Among, however, just the 130 crashes that resulted in serious injury or fatality, rollover collisions and fixed object collisions were the two most common types. A high injury network was created that represents corridors and intersections where safety investments may provide the greatest benefit in reducing serious injury and fatal crashes. The high injury network and other takeaways from the safety analysis informed our draft project recommendations. The project recommendations, without further ado, are presented in 3 categories. The first one is called systemic safety improvements. The second one is called spot improvements, and not shown on the screen right now are policy and process changes. And I'll start with the first one, systemic safety improvements. Now, these improvements are proven and often low-cost safety countermeasures that are intended to be applied at numerous locations throughout the Flathead Reservation in areas with similar characteristics. These safety countermeasures include enhanced pedestrian crossings, as seen in the photo, enhanced sign treatments as well, We also have vehicle speed feedback signs, reflective backplates on stoplights, protected left turn phasing, and then also rumble strips. Let me back up one more. These countermeasures are recommended at common locations that occur throughout the reservation, such as rural stop-controlled intersections. And here's an example on Highway 212 and at the Bison Range Road. We also have multi-lane crossings. And here's an example on US 93. School crossings and walkways, and this one's in Ronan. Horizontal curves, which are common throughout the Flathead Reservation, just curves in the road. And then also one designated for school bus pullouts, specifically intended off of US 93. The second type of improvement are spot improvements. And these are improvements tailored to 13 high priority sites throughout the Flathead Reservation. Many of these sites call for strategies such as constructing left turn lanes, new traffic signals or roadway configurations, and new bicycle and pedestrian facilities. Locations include US 93 at Irvine Flats Road, Kerr Dam Road and Back Road, US 93 at the Super One Foods location in Polson, the three-way intersection US 93 and MT 35. Moving a little more east, MT 35 and Fulkerson Lane. And a host of safe routes to school treatments in Polson, Pablo, Ronan, Charlo, St. Ignatius, Arlee, Dixon, and Hot Springs. And I'm just showing Hot Springs right now. This plan also recommends continuing actions of MDT in their statewide Transportation Improvements Plan, or the STIP, to enhance roadway safety on US 93. And these locations are US 93 at Kicking Horse Road, Old US 93, the Nine Pipes area, and other locations between Raleigh and Polson. And lastly, we also recommend policy and process changes that CSKT and partner agencies can implement to advance roadway and safety initiatives within the Flathead Reservation. The actions incorporate best practices and research and national guidance, align with goals and objectives from past CSKT plans, and are shaped by input from our stakeholders and the CSKT community. They are categorized as either policy changes or strategy actions. There are 6 recommended policy changes within the plan. There are 13 strategy actions that touch on planning, enforcement, post-crash care, and then also education. The plan also outlines next steps for implementation, including applying for demonstration grants and implementation grants as part of the SS4A program. There are elements in the plan to track additional funding opportunities beyond SSA funds as well. And then in addition, the plan outlines the coordination process needed to monitor the performance of implemented strategies. So in conclusion, the SS4A Safety Action Plan will assist CSKT and its partner agencies to create safer, more accessible, a more accessible transportation system for all who live, work, and travel within the reservation. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have on the draft summary.
Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate the presentation. Any question? Jimmy?
Yeah, I appreciate the, all the safety issues that you're addressing now. But throughout the whole Highway 93, beginning right at the reservation line at the south end, from Evero to Grey Wolf Peak, the passing lanes in that area, they have people have to turn left to get in either side to go to their homes, and they got passing lanes. People are coming 80 miles an hour. And there's going to be some terrible wrecks in there, and it's scary.
Absolutely.
In the wintertime, these people can't even stop, and you've got people trying to turn left without a turning lane. I would, the ideal thing that I would like to have seen would have been like coming from the Y to the bottom of Everett Hill. You've got a left turn lane all the way through, and there's no issue for them people. But you get up to the top, and it turns into just a raceway up there. It's very dangerous, and it continues on. No matter, you can come all the way along, all the way up to Elmo, and see issues on left turn lanes for where people live. And these cars that are going 70, 80 miles an hour. It's a real hazard.
Mm-hmm.
And I just cringe when when I go home. I turn up there, and it's a real hazard.
Yeah.
I don't see anything from the beginning either way as you come on the reservation. It's all in Pablo, Polson, those areas. There's some real issues on the other ends. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. I completely agree. I think something that was not emphasized in at least what I was showing on the screen is we have a whole section dedicated to ensuring that we want to advance projects that MDT has already taken on, and they've already advanced further along than we have here in our plan. We didn't want to double back and say we recommend something here when it's already in design, and it's already moving forward with MDT funds or however they've acquired funds to address these projects on 93.
Yeah, I just assumed that you guys worked together with MDT and
absolutely. It just wasn't shown in this presentation, but I think what we can do is we can certainly emphasize that point more, that we're definitely not ignoring it. It's in our plan as recommendations. It didn't get the project number because it's already further along in the MDT, their STIP, their strategic action plan for implementing projects.
About 3 years ago, I asked if MDT if we could take just kind of a field trip, ride with them and show them some of these places.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would be willing to do that because there's some real issues out there that I'm really worried about. Anyway,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I also want to mention that for SS4A, this is a great opportunity to acquire funds to work off network as well. We also want to make sure that crossings to school are safe as well. We're definitely not ignoring the issues for 93. We heard through the stakeholder outreach that 93 is a major issue. Getting on to 93 off of 93, the speed, the collisions from wildlife. We've heard it all, and we just want to make sure that we are in coordination with MDT and not fighting with MDT with recommending new projects that already exist and are moving forward. Thank you.
Go ahead, Bing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got a question about your new signs down my North Valley Creek, the new things you have on the highway down there. There's 60 mile an hour speed limit down through there. And you get down by that sign, it says, slow down. You're going faster than 60 mile an hour, but you're not. You're going at 58, 59 mile an hour, and it tells you to slow down. So I don't know that's before you get to the curve going north. So I don't know what that's all about there. And you got them in there, and just the one sign says slow down there, and you're already going 60 or less. when you're going down through there, you know, so I didn't know whether or not, there's a malfunction with that sign or what the deal is, because, you know, 60-mile-an-hour speed limit, then all of a sudden, slow down.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Can you repeat the section you had mentioned, the location? Do you have it?
Yeah, I have it. And we can bring that up to MDT and see if there's something going on with it, or if it, I think it's just yeah. Yeah, we can just make sure it's functioning the way it's supposed to.
You always look like you're going faster than you are. Thanks.
And to add on, I think that's a good opportunity for our first section of treatments, the systemic treatments, to feedback signs, taking another look at the speed limits there, implementing maybe some light infrastructure changes in the area potentially to reduce speeds too.
Glenn, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Scott, on another issue, so it's been some time since we've had a transportation committee meeting. If you can provide us an update on where we're at with those projects that we identified in the last committee meeting.
Yeah, I'll set that up.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Well, thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And if you have any comments on this afterwards, you can send comments to me and I'll pass them along to get them addressed in the final plan.
Appreciate that, Scott.
All right, thank you.
Guys have a good afternoon. Come on up, Brian. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of council. My name is Brian Hoganson. Work for Natural Resources Department in the Division of Engineering and Water Resources. And I'm the CSKT representative on the Compact Implementation Technical Team. And we came in, Casey and I came in a couple months ago to prompt this topic a bit, but we're looking to move forward with an item at the CITT, which would partially fund a on-farm efficiency specialist position housed with Montana State University Extension Office. And this position would seek to tie in that water use efficiency piece that the compact calls out as part of the operational efficiencies. And so the CITT got together and decided that a good use of these funds would be to bring in a specialist on agricultural efficiency and have that person be kind of the go-between with all the water uses, and someone who's trained in understanding how to communicate with ag producers and to know general, water use efficiency standards. And to really just be the arm of the CITT to try to advance some of those topics and try to just really drive that piece further down the road. So this potential funding would come from the state's contribution to the compact outlined in Article 6 of the compact. It's $4 million that was contributed by the state to advance these types of issues. And so there's also a 20% match being proposed by MSU Extension. So it is a cooperative position potentially out there. And this particular funding that we're seeking advancement of here today would fund this position for 5 years. And it would be, the position would then be reevaluated at that point to see whether it's working, whether it's getting some good results, or if we need to reconsider how we spend the funds to advance this. So with that, I just kind of wanted to introduce that and let you know that we'd be seeking approval from tribal council today, at which point the task order would go over to the state for their signature. And then we would need to develop a memorandum of agreement with MSU Extension on the administration of the funding itself and how those mechanisms work to get get all that stuff moving forward with the funding. So I'm definitely open for questions on this one from council, and thanks for letting me present today.
Tom, go ahead.
Mr. Chair. Brian, this position then would be an MSU extension position?
Correct.
So it'd be under the University of MSU?
Yeah.
And the MOU would it be a termed MOU or is it just ongoing or?
It would be.
Because there's limited funding.
Right. Yeah. It would be a not to exceed amount in the amount of 400,000 to fund the position for 5 years. I think there's opportunities there where if, let's say this position were to identify some needs for some soil moisture probes in certain areas, try to develop a better understanding of soil moisture, let's say, or other sort of technical understanding that this person could come to the CITT and request additional funding from that source, from that Article 6 state contribution source. And it looked to advance some on the ground types of deals too. But yeah, this one looks like with MSU Extension, it's a not to exceed amount for 5 years.
You say there's $4 million in that fund?
Yeah, there is. At this point, some of that has been drawn down a bit with agromet stations that are out there. There's 5 agromet stations collecting temperature data and precipitation data. And those stations help irrigators to understand the crop demand. And so they can kind of dial in that water use a little bit more efficiently. So yeah, this person would build off of that too.
Is one of those stations in the Hot Springs area?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Other questions for Brian? Entertain a motion to authorize the use of not more than 400,000 for a position with MSU Extension. Motion by Tom. Second by Bing. All in favor? Unanimous with Carol Elleroom. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you all. Yeah, have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
And I think I got the paper you got to carry, huh?
Correct. Yeah. I can stand by for that. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. You betcha. You.
Tom, you had an issue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Bing and I attended the Interagency Bison Management Partners meeting by Zoom. It was a a record for the length of a meeting for the IBMP. Yeah, and a record for lack of participation from comments. Although the public comments I saw made the news on KECI, 2 of them did. But the meeting was supposed to be we used to have 3 meetings a year. It's been switched to 2 meetings a year. Every year there's one of the partners rotates to be the host. This year it's the state operating that, and so they realize that everybody's suing everybody. So a lot of the dialogue that would normally take place probably wouldn't, because of the lawsuits, and people would make comments or make statements, and because of the litigation. So rather than have the in-person meeting in Bozeman on Wednesday all day, they opted for a Zoom meeting, which we did those. We broke that ground providing Zoom meetings during COVID. So we hosted Zoom meetings then because we couldn't meet in person. But so it was a Zoom meeting. There was a lack of participation by Intertribal Bison Council and only an attorney for the Nez Perce tribe. But all the other agencies, their partners were there. The comments were basically that the operation for this past year went not too bad, other than some of the complaints for some of the hunt parties not believing that the trap operation was limiting their opportunity, which it could have been. But they made note that we received 760 some odd bison in our shipment process. They estimated the population, I think, right now at 4,200, 4,300 animals. And of course, that's a rough estimate. You know, until they do their aerial flights, they won't exactly know. But they had that removal number before to remove nearly 1,900 animals based on the population estimate that we had going into the fall season of over 6,000 animals. So the EIS, or the record of decision for the Park Service, and their management plan inside of the park, not the IBMP management plan, but the park's own internal management plan, is reflective of the interagency bison management plan. And so their new plan limits the carrying capacity to not to exceed around 6,000 animals. So when they were up that high, and given the reproduction rate of buffalo, if you don't drop it quite a bit, all of a sudden you're going to be at 8,000 animals the next year. And so to remove that number of animals is very difficult. It's a real limiting effect to try to do. Even when you try to administratively move them, back in 2008, I think it was 2008, they went through and administratively removed around 1,600 buffalo, and there was a record for buffalo removals in the Greater Yellowstone. That exceeded the ability for all of the meat processing plants in Montana, and the ability for hunters to be involved, given the limited location and the fact that a lot of those buffalo were still in the park. So the Park Service has created this management plan that has these triggers, and so they hit that trigger, and that's why there was that level of administrative slaughter or removal. They did do their quarantine program, and they filled that up too. So next year, it's hard to say. There'll be a same kind of scenario, not as dramatic as this past year, but you don't know until you see all the red calves and the success of calving. So their summer counts will be critical for that. The next meeting is going to be this fall in Butte, in person. So we'll see. We didn't before, when there's been litigation, we've had updates from typically the Park Service because they're always the ones being sued. They would give a litigation update of where the court is, where this lawsuit's at, where's it at its stage, But we didn't have anybody do that, at this meeting. And I failed to even bring that up. The one thing that was unfortunate was that, through the mix of the federal government, RIFs, reorganizations, we've always tried to develop a really good working relationship with the Forest Service. From the time we started to hunt again in 2008, 2007, and framing a cooperative relationship with the Forest Service, because that's where our treaty hunt rights are located. The Gardner Ranger District ranger is moving to Bighorn in Wyoming. He'll be moving to Buffalo, Wyoming. He's relocated through the effects that are happening. We've been working with him, Mike Thom, for the past 8 or 9 years. Developed a really good relationship. So it was unfortunate to see him go. There's a new manager down in West Yellowstone. I really never met her. Seems pretty good, but that's unfortunate. So that was announced that he was leaving. So we'll have a new district ranger in Gardner, and that's where all the activity's at. So we'll have to work hard to develop that relationship with whoever replaces Mike Thom. It's hard to see him go, but that's kind of the thrust of the meeting. I gave an update on our slaughterhouse facility or meat packing, our meat cutting processing plant, that we broke ground for that. The Board of Livestock representative talked about them trying to bring on more people for being meat inspectors to help facilitate that type of thing. So I was glad to hear him say that, because they've been shorthanded, and that'll be a limiting factor on the success of our plant. So he made mention of that in his update, if I remember right, Bing. Other than that, I don't know, was there anything you want to mention, Bing? Anything you remember? Outstanding? Not really? Good. Good with it.
Thank
It's a
you,
meeting
Don.
update.
Carol, you had an issue for today too. Is that the one you wanted to just talk to me with? Okay.
Excuse me, Carrie Antoine was the other one.
The one other last thing before we break for lunch is, there are upcoming consultations on the president's, letter, basically 14-210, that's trying to make government efficient. Those consultations, there'll be 6 of them, with 2 virtual ones. One in Alaska is on May 20th, so next Tuesday? California on next Thursday. Albuquerque the Tuesday after on the 27th. Minnesota on the Thursday after that. A virtual for the Bureau of Indian Education will be on May 30th. There'll be one in Oklahoma on June 3rd. One in Washington DC, June 5th, and then a virtual, just an open one on BIA on June 6th. And we should have some representation somewhere here. So yeah, that's what it's all about, consulting about the efficiency, basically looking at the efficiency of Indian Affairs, BIA, BIE, funding structure. You know, the one of the main cruxes in MVP as well as in irrigation is that the funds that we collect have to go to DC and come back to us. And it basically takes forever. And so there's arrangements like that addressing funding structures, and then what they say they want to increase the Indian Affairs support for self-governance and self-determination. And so there's going to be conversations about that. There is a pre-meeting online today at 1:30. And I do believe somebody should be paying attention to that. And so I'm not sure exactly how to coordinate that, but I'll make sure Jordan is, but one of us should probably be on that as well. And I'd be willing to do that, but we have SKC coming in after one, and then Leroy is going to present on the active shooter training. Going to give us the presentation that they have. So those things are coming in after one. Carol.
Yeah, has Sinosky compiled the information that each consultation is going to discuss? And so can you get us that packet? And if you need somebody to do consultation on Zoom or whatever, I'm willing to do one of them or whatever. I don't like to do it a lot, but
Yeah,
definitely if you need somebody, I'll definitely step up.
the virtual ones are May 30th for BIE and June 6th for BIA. So,
Probably June 6th. And I
Yeah.
also have a meeting in Sioux Falls. No, it's Iowa. And I don't know, I don't have I applied for my my passport, but I don't know if it's gonna be in, so I may have to drive. And they pay for everything. It's on early childhood services. It's a new thing that they're putting together to bring leaders and other individuals together. So, and if you say that you need a quorum, I guess I can't go.
So we'll handle that as we look at it. Appreciate that. Yeah. And so I'm wondering what in-person meeting we should have. And Carol makes a good point that I think all of the topics possible are going to be discussed at all of these. And so there's all those possibilities. And I don't know if the DC one could be coordinated with actually talking with other congressional folks or not. That would be the advantage of the DC one. So, Jennifer?
Yeah, I think, either way, whoever does it, I think having some kind of presence there, and I don't know what would be closer, California or New Mexico. But I think sometimes it makes an impact too to be there in person. So they see you as a person.
At least one or two of them, I think. I don't know about all six, if they're all about the same thing. So, yeah. So we'll coordinate that. Bag of one, lunch. We'll come back into session. Good afternoon, everybody. Come on up.
Was you going into executive or staying open?
We'll go into executive.
He just gave information.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. And I use that descriptor cautiously. Because Sheridan's right over there. Yeah.
So we're here to kind of go over our PowerPoint with you guys that we created. We had an evaluation form, also kind of an active shooter training that we had, and a few comments from when we did the training up at housing. I don't know which one you want to start first, because our PowerPoint usually takes over an hour. So not too sure if you guys want to sit here the whole time and watch the whole PowerPoint. You guys want to just go through certain parts of it. We have about 5 videos on the PowerPoint. Go through the highlights. They're all highlights, all 51 slides of them. But that's just me because I'm an instructor and I kind of take it personal. And I know these guys do as they feel the same way as I do. But you guys know me. I'll let the rest of the guys introduce themselves before we get started, because I don't know if you guys know everybody here.
I'm James Knapp. I'm the Tardy Lead Security Officer. And
Matthew, as you guys know, I'm the Network and security engineer for the tribes.
My name's Matt Howard. I work security for tribal child support.
And I'm Trevor Sheridan. I work infrastructure for IT.
We have a couple more that are not here. We have Bradley Moore, Carlos Gonzalez that work at Grey Wolf Casino.
Vincent Swan.
Yeah, Vincent Swan and Tristan Flagan, both at probation. They're not here with us at this time with the presentation. But those, oh, and Jay Blue, he's part of our team when he's not too busy. But this is the active shooter team. We decided to call it the Active Threat Training Team, CSKT Active Threat Training Team, AT&T.
Got it.
So you guys are the A team?
The at AT&T.
Can you hear it now?
CSKT AT&T.
Yeah, I just wanted to say too, I think we mentioned it last time, but the whole point of this, the team, after we took the training with LSU when they were here, as well as many of the other guys took training with Safariland. While we wish we weren't in a world in which we needed to train for these type of events, we are. And so understanding that and making sure that this is part and parcel, part of our muscle regimen, if you will. You know, I always like to talk about when we're doing the course in that from an early age, you're taught what to do when you're on fire, right? With stop, drop, and roll. You're not normally planning to be on fire. You hope you never are on fire, but having the muscle reflexes and the core memory, if you will, of that training really helps, if that happens, to mitigate the risk to yourself and others. And in the same way, this training, when we're presenting it to departments or housing or other government agencies, helps with that muscle memory to make sure that everybody has at least thought about it and tried to work on the examples of what would happen in my workplace, in where I'm at. I mean, I think it changes how you look at every space you're in, but we spend so much of our lives in a workplace, in a area, that we think we know all the ins and outs, and we know most of them, but we've never thought about those ins and outs, the offices, the desks, the furniture, the fire extinguishers, to be used for anything but what they're designed for. And so part of going through this is making sure that you're examining those places and things to be used in the case of an offensive weapon, a defensive weapon, somewhere to hide, somewhere to not be found, to be locked in. We often, know what closets there are, but how many can you remember lock or don't lock? It's just those type of questions we raise.
And I think too, it's not to instill fear in people of what might happen, but to actually live outside of fear of, if something were to happen, I know what to do, and I don't have to be afraid of being caught in a situation where something bad happens. There's a lot of emphasis on active shooter, but this is beyond active shooter and active threat, whether it's knives, guns, people just throwing furniture, fists, whatever. So it's just a preparedness, so that way it's something that you've thought through at least once, and you have some kind of mental response of, if this happens, then what? Well, I remember I took a training, I've thought this through, I know what to do, and I can be confident in my decision to help myself survive and other people.
We can kind of just, flip through a couple things here. Some of the highlights in this deck are We talk about active threats, specifically active shootings throughout the U.S. and kind of where we see those take place most often. The workplace is a high number of those incidences, so we stress that as we're teaching it for people to be thinking about that. We talk about how they end often. We go through some video examples such as Columbine, which really was the impetus to, there was the first real big school shooting in 1999, and really kind of sets the stage for it being that watershed moment of, okay, now what? It really changed the dynamics of how schools were unprepared for the event and what needed to be changed. Situational awareness, all kinds of different items there. Yes, ma'am.
That also with the Columbine, it's how law enforcement tactics changed from waiting and setting a perimeter, waiting for SWAT, can take up to 40 minutes with the Columbine. They were there within 7 minutes, but they didn't get help for 40 minutes. So that, can you go 40 minutes in this building with an active shooter walking around actively shooting people? It changed that from that time frame to more when law enforcement arrives, it's the first to three officers, first two officers entering the building and looking directly for that actual threat and then neutralizing it. So that way that the paramedics can come in and assist people. That's the other thing is we teach it near the end is when law enforcement's there, their role is completely different. They might not assist with somebody if they're hurt. They might have to bypass you to find the threat, but they won't forget about you. They will radio it saying, hey, there's a hurt person here. We'll need EMS whenever it's available. And then knowing that when law enforcement's showing up, that you need to showing their hands and tell them and let them know which direction they're going. So that's the other part of that Columbine tactic change from what it was to how they respond now.
From a high level, we do talk about the human reaction to disaster. We talk about denial, deliberation, and the decisive moment, trying to get through those things as quickly as possible. Even trained individuals will have a moment of denial. It's how many times you've thought about it and trained on it will be the length of that denial. But we really just go into those actions, talking about it being a coping mechanism. You know, it's that whole, you hear a bang, you're in town, oh, it might be backfire. Well, when's the last time that's been a big thing with modern vehicles, you know? It's just those type of things, walking through them, trying to, our mind tries to rationalize them and normalize the event. So we work on trying to get past those items, get into a deliberation of what is next, what am I going to do, and obviously the decisive moment of making or taking the action that will be best in that moment, in that situation. What else do we got? We talk about the public safety response gap in that you can't just stand around waiting for help. You have to make something happen for yourself and possibly others around you. We talk about working as a team when it comes to the run, hide, fight response paradigm. We really encourage people to think about themselves first, and having to work on if something is happening. Where's that slide with the, you know, getting past the herd mentality, you know, hearing gunshots and going, well, I know that's coming from that way. We shouldn't go that way. Oh no, that's the best exit. We're going to head that way. Really working on thinking independently, and that if the gunshots were from that direction or the yelling or screaming was from that direction, you need to work on going the opposite direction in spite of what the group may be doing. We talk about getting, you know, making sure we have one video in particular. It was at a city council meeting, and someone comes in and starts graffitiing on the wall, and then they have their wife was, they felt unjustly fired, bunch of details, but they go to have people leave, and some of the people actually take the time to push their chairs in, gather up their purses, grab the items. And we talk about the fact that, you know, in a situation where you're trying to flee, none of that matters. And so just working through those type of scenarios, all kinds of different items here. We talk about the difference between cover and concealment. Concealment is just not being visible, whereas cover is an object you're behind that could actually be structurally sound to withstand force. We talk about being mindful of what items are around you to barricade yourself in rooms.
And those items are easily can be a door wedge, a fire hose piece, a belt, something that you can stage in your office or somewhere nearby to easily obstruct the door, to stop people from entering, or vice versa.
Places that we can do the training that have lever locks, we show them how they can use a folding chair or a metal chair to wedge in the door to keep it from being opened. We show people how to hold a door closed when it can't be locked with a belt or other items, using their body weight against the edge. We talk about, you know, using, like I mentioned earlier, objects that you don't normally use for a weapon as a weapon, looking for those items and what can do damage. We really just work on situational awareness as a whole and trying to figure out, make sure people are aware of their surroundings. Items we talk about is, you know, holding doors shut, you know, not only with the belt, but being out of the main core of the door when you're trying to keep a door shut, so that if someone wants to shoot through the door, you're less likely to get hit. We talk about when fight is the appropriate option. We talk about committing to it 100%, trying to get as many people to commit to it 100%, and all being on the same page to fight for your life and, if necessary, end the assailant's life with all force. We really try and talk about with people. There are some people's personalities that fight is nowhere near the top of their abilities or desires. And we really talk about, there may be instances where others will be able to take that initiative, and there's times where you have to, and you may be forced to. And so we talk that through, about fighting for your life and using anything and everything that we can. We have a number of video examples for both. This video in particular is good. This was put out 15 years after, so 2015-ish. And it was one of the Columbine survivors and how they are actively doing training now in schools, and how it's helped the staff and students be less scared of an event, if that's probably the right terminology. So, you know, we really just try to use examples both with the video and text, to try and drive home the point.
Like I stated earlier, with law enforcement arrives, just knowing that you got to keep your hands visible, empty, because a lot of people tend to keep their phone in their hand when they're waving at the cop. I don't know why, but that tends to have a black object in your hand. It looks like a weapon. And now all of a sudden you can be shot by mistake because you happen to have your phone in your hand when you're waving the officer down for help. That's why you keep your hands open, visible, stuff like that. Just so that way law enforcement can get to wherever the threat is and times vary. Like in cities, it's probably going to be faster versus where we are. We're hours from everywhere to anywhere. Then we summarize and we go into another of the bystander effect. Like, what is the bystander effect? It's something that happens as just a reality of the world. Like, it's a really good movie show that it just talks about how a person who's not dressed greatly can be overlooked even when there's a bunch of people, say out here in the lobby, you have a sick person who isn't dressed the greatest, but everybody doesn't want to help, so everybody keeps walking by. And then somebody that's dressed nice all of a sudden is ill, and everybody all of a sudden one person walks up and then everybody's trying to help that same person. And then it's a really good informative video of how the bystander effect, how people don't want to go against what everybody else is doing. So, and we also kind of gracefully go over the first aid, AED, and CPR. We don't dive too much into it, but just have a.
This is Second James. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, I have a question. Well, what is your recommendation on like having pepper spray? Like if we had pepper spray in our desk? And I just thought of it now. I used to work as a cashier and we had to, and when I worked at a gym too, we had to have pepper spray. I don't think any of us wanted to shoot somebody, but I think we all felt comfortable spraying somebody with pepper spray. And I know that's pretty, I mean, I sort of accidentally pepper sprayed myself one time. And it's just like, it lasts for so long. Anyway, so what is that? What are your thoughts on that?
So I have a background in law enforcement, and so I obviously carried pepper spray, taser, firearm. Pepper spray has a great place. A big caution is if you're in an enclosed area, you're going to get it as well. So I honestly prefer foam over spray because it doesn't mist as well. But if that's your only resort, I would use it. Just know that if you do, you're going to get it, and it's not going to be pleasant for anybody. But it definitely has a time and a place, and it is effective. The caution too, though, is it's not always as effective as people think on people who may be altered on some kind of substance. So I caution people, don't assume that just because you sprayed somebody, they're just going to stop and leave you alone. So you have to be, I think, mentally prepared that that's a great possible first step or second step, but it might not be the last step. There might be more that you're going to have to do past that. So.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I was in
pepper spray Dave Passieri one time.
as same as him. As I'm prior military, so I know how that feeling feels because we have to be sprayed and go through that training to utilize it. So I would say if you're going to have that, I would also, like you're saying, be aware that that potential is going to come back on you. So you might want to find some training too, if you want to partake in and experience it so that way you're ready should it happen. And maybe if it gets used against you, if you were to pull it out and then that person takes it from you and uses it on you. That's the other thing is what they teach us in the military is if it's used on you, you have to fight through that to neutralize the threat. So now you're sprayed and you got to keep fighting. So now I'm hurt, but I can't see and I've got to stop this from hurting me. And it's really good training, I think. But again, like you're saying, it's not your first step, not your last step. It's definitely a good step to have, but you also got to be prepared for the consequences of that small room. If you're in an office, now you're both inhaling it.
And as somebody who's been sprayed multiple times in training, each time for me personally, it got less obnoxious. So if you have somebody who's an experienced person of getting sprayed, they might not react like somebody who's never been sprayed before. So I don't think it's not inappropriate to have that thought of using pepper spray. There's just some caution behind it.
And then we have our last one, which is our closing thoughts, kind of what's the goal we taught today, the tools to survive, the main goal is everyone goes home, and a new mindset for a changed world because we want people to still be positive but not naive, and then just always be prepared to implement, run, hide, fight, because that's a real possibility. And then for here, there's a lot of logistical of availability. You know, if there was an active shooter in this event, you've got the road right there, people driving by it, that's not bulletproof. Easily shoot through the window. Is that bulletproof? No, but it's also very easily walk into this lobby and start shooting. The upstairs, right up here, this door to this top of the flight of stairs, it's not locked and the general public can open it, crawl up that ladder and get to the roof access. It's not fob locked. It's one of those things that is security I always look at and recommend, hey, maybe we should put a lock on this door because it's something that probably should be fob locked for just that same reason, because it's security reason. And then an active shooter, if he were to do something, they could easily do a lot of damage from up there. And then law enforcement being right across the way, easily pick off people as they're responding and then make their breakaway the backside of the building and go. It's just other possibilities. We don't want you to like look at the world as a darker place, but just be ready and positive to be that your mindset has been changed and you're now having this mental toolbox and your tools are there and you're ready to implement it. Should it ever come to fruition, you won't be caught with a deer in the headlights look like, I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I don't, and those couple seconds of being frozen, you could have been moving or doing something else and then grabbing your partner. Hey, there's a shooter. Let's go. And then start running. And if they don't move, you might have to grab them and pull them for a second, or you might have to leave them. You never know, depending on how close the shooter is, where it's at, stuff of that nature. And then we have more recent statistics. These are not per se active shooter incidents, but some of them are closer to home, like the St. Regis high-speed gunman, where the bartender locked the door, man was killed by an officer and involved shooting in St. Regis. The more recent one was Sentinel High, the 2 high schoolers that were detained because they brought a gun to school, but there was no motive. They didn't know what was going on there. The Grey Wolf Casino, where there was a gunman and a high-speed chase. Then there was also the Grey Wolf incident where there was a shooting with a car incident where somebody got shot. The Quatucknuck, where the woman was shot into the car. These are just incidents that happened locally. The Quicksilver robbery, where he brought the toy gun in, took some money, left, got hit by a bystander, wrestled down for a minute, but then got away and then later got arrested. Just stuff that we wanted to put in. And then our ending slide is just thank you and then questions. We have a survey. We at this time had people start filling out. And then our resource guide where we got most of our statistics and video information and stuff of the nature.
Jennifer?
Is this an executive?
No, we're in open session.
Okay, I was just kidding. I don't want to pepper spray anybody. That was a joke.
To your point, I don't think anybody wants to harm other people, but you have to be prepared to defend yourself.
Yeah, and I just think that, thank you for doing this. This is really important information, especially in the world that we're living in now with, there's just a rise in violent attacks towards people of color. And so I think, we can't be too careful. And, I would hope that we don't have to go as far as having like a metal detector at the entrance. But I mean, if someday, but I would rather err on the side of caution rather than some anti-tribal person coming in here and doing whatever. And my question is about cameras. Do we have, so when someone comes in the tribal complex area, do we have cameras that can pick up their license plates?
So at the moment, we do not. We are looking at options that will potentially have license plate recognition for either here at the complex, at housing places. We've even looked at potentially putting license plate recognition cameras on like the AIS checkpoint station. So that way, if there's an Amber Alert type deal, that we can utilize that for those situations or anything like that. I know Law and Order, their task force is doing a lot with the fentanyl stuff. There's lots of uses for the LPR. The moment we don't, I guess to just answer your question shortly, not at the current time, but we are looking at options for that.
One question for you in your active shooter training, because I, of course, wasn't in the military. I wasn't in law enforcement like some of you in your experiences, but I've been shot at 3 times. and they've always been outside, out in the field. And so do you have anything in relationship to that? Because we have lots of field personnel and they run into a lot of characters out there. And it may not be a game warden or a law enforcement officer. It might be just a field person doing something. And then all of a sudden they run into a crazy person. Is there any training for that you have?
No, we don't. We would recommend that they would take the active shooter training, but nothing for out in the field. I did hear stories from BIA workers where they did have to deal with people being mad at them, shooting towards them. But the only thing I can recommend is description and report it to law enforcement right away, because maybe also the other thing would be body cameras. Maybe have those departments get body cameras and put them also in their vehicles when they're, because I know they can't probably go in pairs, but you know, if you have a body camera, another camera in your vehicle pointing 360 or whatever would help. You know, the only thing that I can recommend right now. And then I was gonna go to back to some of our slides. You know, some of this stuff came from LSU when we did over at, of course, Tweagle. Some of it, like Matt, James, and myself, Carlos, and Brad, we all worked at gaming at one time, and we did that Safari Land active shooter. Carlos and I are active shooter instructors through Safari Land and LSU. So we kind of combined the PowerPoints, the information from there to create our PowerPoint here. We figured, you know, making it look nice, put the CSKT emblem on it. If you guys approve of that, if you guys want us to take it off, you know, just the little things that you guys may see fit for it. That's kind of why we're here, getting your approval of this. Okay, you guys want us to take things out? I know having the seal on it, to me, it means more because it's representing the tribe, and it's a group of us tribal members, tribal employees that put this together and are dedicated to whichever direction you guys tell us to go. You know, we'll do that to the best of our ability. The active shooter training is the LSU one, like I mentioned before, is a little bit different compared to Safari Land. And the ones that took the LSU didn't get to take the Safari Land unless they were at either gaming or I think DHRD was one, and Job Corps and ECS were the three big departments that we did. Not everybody in DHRD did them, but you know, I did reach out to those people that did take it and ask them, which one did you like? You know, you took both my trainings. Which one did you like the best? And the one from Safari Land, you know, you got your PowerPoint, and that's where I got where we do the PowerPoint, then we do the first aid, wound care, the run, hide, fight, the self-defense, weapons takeaway, and then scenarios. You know, after the PowerPoint, we break into down into groups. Trevor would do weapons takeaway. Matt would how to run down a hallway. James would do wound care, and I would do self-defense. Because some people, I'm not saying everybody knows how to fight, but some people don't know how to defend themselves, or how to hit somebody, or where to kick somebody, or where to hit somebody. So, you know, we had some of the equipment to where we can do that. And that's where, we were talking with the group, kind of how we wanted to tailor this was to incorporate that with the LSU stuff. And then after lunch, because this would take a good 4 hours going through all this, the PowerPoint and the breakdown of the different stations, then lunch, and then after lunch would be the scenarios. And at gaming, when we had the guy in the suit, he had a blue gun. It was a plastic gun, and we had a pistol that would shoot blanks and then go into the hallway, the classroom or whatever, And whatever you learn from that day, if you were in that room where that guy went in with the suit and the gun, you get to learn what you just learned in the morning, see how you would react. If he was out in the hallway, what would you do? You know, the different scenarios and different things from you learn. That's where you learned. I'm not saying everybody is going to go, I'm going right into fight. Everybody's going to go. You know, just depend on what the situation is. Some might run, some might hide, some might be ready to fight. But that's who you get to see who you are as a person. Not everybody's built for it. Not everybody's made for it. You know, some people are just going to be the deer in the headlights. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And like James alluded to, you know, I know a guy shooting. I know I don't have to worry about James because he's probably going to try to, come on, Leroy, let's go. And we're going together, right? If we take somebody from the office from accounting to that same situation, how many of them are going to be willing to go? How many of them are going to be deer in the headlights? You know, that time is where you see who you are as a person and where we got to kind of work with them. Say, okay, this is just prepared. This is, now you know what would happen. This is what type of person you may be, might be, the different situations. So it's just a lot that we teach in the one day. The one that we did at housing, because they wanted it broke down into two groups. What was it? Two halves, one group, one day, one half.
8 to 12.
8 to 12, and another one from 12 to like 3:30. So we had to shorten everything down. And, you know, IT was lucky enough to purchase a shot box. So we don't need a gun with blanks. We just plug it in and has a remote that makes a gunshot sound. Not everybody knows what it sounds like inside a building as well. And another thing I wanted to touch on was on our PowerPoint at the end, the Red Lake, Minnesota incident was a tribal on the reservation. The young kid, his mom was an addict. Don't know what happened to his dad. Had to stay with his grandpa. His grandpa was a lieutenant in the tribal police force. One day he shot his grandpa, then shot his grandpa's girlfriend. Went to school and shot up the school. Later found out that through the research, reading the story behind it, that kid's grandpa and his dad had a shootout. Don't know if grandpa shot the dad or if the dad died, but and then his mom was an addict, didn't want him. She chose her addiction over him. And I'm not saying that that happens to everybody, but that was his story. And that's why I included Red Lake on our PowerPoint, or the acknowledgement and the back. It was, what, can't remember the year, but
2005.
2005, but it did happen on a reservation. And I just wanted to share that, you know, his experience, what he had to go through.
And then my other thing to build off of what Leroy was just saying is when we're teaching this class, there's no wrong answer to what your mentality is. It's not like my mentality is to fight. I always look for the danger and I'm always running to it. That's who I am as a person. I do that. That's what I do. And that's what I love to do. That's why I like what I do. I like being in security. That's why I was in law enforcement. So I was in the military. So I choose this background. And I also want to partake and give that information to others so they know, okay, my mentality is I don't want to fight. I want to run. And that's fine. That is acceptable. We want you to understand that that's fine. That's a good, acceptable choice. You don't need to be ashamed that you decided to run. Or maybe you decided to hide. There's no wrong answer, and that you shouldn't be ashamed if you survived this incident. It's because we want to make sure everybody can survive this incident. But then that's the whole mentality of, well, I ran and I didn't grab Matt when I left, but I did tell him, I yelled at him, but he didn't move with me or something. And now he got shot while he was still in the office, maybe because he decided to grab his backpack and his wallet, and he was grabbing some other things out of the office as he was going to follow me. But I left him because I didn't want to grab anything, and I ran. and then the shooter came in right after I left and then shot him, I shouldn't tell myself it was my fault. It wasn't. You did what you did, and that's fine. That's who you are. That's unacceptable. You didn't do anything wrong, and that's what we want to tell people: is that there's no wrong answer. There's no. Everybody needs to fight. But when we do fight, we want everybody to fight as a team, as a unit, so that way you have a better chance of success should that threat enter this scenario where you have to fight. Like I said, I'm willing to fight. I'm willing to fight for everybody if that were the situation. And if I have somebody to help me, I have better odds. But if it's just me fighting and then you decide to run, so be it. That's what happens. But we just want people to understand that there's no wrong answer and they shouldn't be ashamed of what you decide to do. If you decide to run, and then also if you're running and you lock the door and your person didn't make it in behind you, do you let that coworker in? If there's an incident going on, those are tough choices you have to make. Because you might have other people in your office with you, might have a client with a child, and you're hiding in this room, and then all of a sudden you hear your coworker banging on the door to let them in, but then you hear gunshots like right outside the hallway. Now you have to make that quick decision of, do I let them in? Do I not? And then there's no wrong answer, and I can't tell you the right answer either, but I can prepare you. Should this come up, this is what we want to teach, and this is what we're trying to teach, is that we want you to be prepared and making these decisions. And that's just all we're trying to teach, that there's no wrong thing. That's all I wanted to build off of that, so.
I gotta tell a quick story. Don't mean to keep you all here longer, but so I used to buy my daughters pepper spray and handheld tasers, for self-defense and sometimes little switchblade knives. But when bear spray came out, I was really impressed with that because this pepper spray, I'm not too sure, Well, if I can deflect a 650-pound charging wild beast from hitting me, that might be good to stop some crazed person. And then the distance of the spray is so much greater than a little can of pepper spray. You can shoot up to 30 feet. And so when I first got that, I gave it bear sprays to my daughters. And so my oldest daughter had the bear spray on top of her refrigerator in her house. And over time, because it was close to the door, someone was messing with their cars, they could just go up, maybe use that and spray, run the thief off, whatever, self-defense and whatever it was. But anyway, over time, they kept opening and closing the refrigerator door. And finally, one of them opened up the door and the can fell off the refrigerator, somehow hit the corner of the bottom of the fridge and punctured a hole in that can. And it went off in the kitchen with them all in there. And it was amazing. I mean, it was tough to be in that house for days. I mean, it was brutal. You had to clean that up. Huh? I told you that. Yeah. Sorry. But hey, bear spray has multi-purpose. That's the moral of the story.
We also had an evaluation form, like I said, we sent with you guys, I think Jen sent it. Then we had some comments from the ones that we did at housing. So I don't know if you guys seen those, got to look it over. I think that's pretty much it, because I know you guys had a long day. We can go on longer, but well, you guys probably want to be done for the day.
I mean, we all got the gift of gab. I'm willing to talk if you guys are willing to listen.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think your training is fantastic. I think this is the kind of training we need to provide all of our workforce, because it's crazy times. And, you think of the area that we live in, the threats. During my career here, I've had 2 death threats over the phone and shot at once down on the river, electrofishing. So, it's very possible things like that can happen. It could be just a little while ago, we had a person we talked about that could someday get a hold of a gun. You just never know. So it's a critical it's critical training, and people need to think about the more you train for it, the better chance you have of surviving the incident. And so there really can't be too much training. You always got to keep your, you know, your wits about you, think about your situation awareness and where's your safety, where's your exit, how you going to defend yourself, who's all there with you, all those things are situational awareness that you're providing that training. So that's great training. I support it.
Yeah, this was great. I mean, just even though you went through the slides quickly, I mean, just showing an illustration of someone lying in front of the door on their back. Like I never would have thought of that. So I think it's really important, and you hope you never have to deal with it. But if you do, you want to have some idea, some clue of thinking about it beforehand. What would you do? And I've had a little bit of training only because I used to be a teacher. So they had to give us, and we had to shut down the school a couple times because we had students threaten to kill us and other students. So unfortunately, that is the world we live in now.
And to go off of that, the training that we want to do versus LSU's is they have to have a specific building and a time that benefits them, but we want to be able to bring it to your workplace, like SCAHA. When we did SCAHA's, we went to their building and did the training there in their building, and then utilized their area and showed them what they could do in their offices, where they could go, where they could barricade, what's all the nearest first aid kit, where's the AED in your location. So we want to be able to bring it to that spot where versus LSU has to do it at another campus building, possibly like Two Eagles, always the one that's always utilized. But that doesn't benefit this place here. If you're here, like obviously running down a corridor is one thing, but being in an open area with another thing, it makes you more trained. Like you're saying, training will obviously give you greater chance. And that's what we want to be able to do, is bring it to that workplace that you work at and make it so it's more convenient for you and whenever you're available, because not everybody can do a mandatory training in one get-go like LSU's was, where it was mandatory for everybody to go to this week-long course where you had to sign up or on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Friday that week that you had to do it, and your department had to get everybody or as many people as they could to that one set of training, versus where we could bring it to where they are and then utilize it and then go through the training with everybody there. So that's the other part of this, is why we wanted to do it this way with our own.
Yeah, have you done this training at SKC? Because when I was a teacher over there, one of my students shot at his girlfriend, and then we got an email that said, if you see this student, tell him he can't be on campus. And I thought, I'm not going to be the one to tell this guy. Guess what? I was teaching, and I turned around and he was standing at the doorway staring at me. And I told the class, I said, excuse me for a minute. And I walked out into the hallway and I said, can I help you? Do you need something? And he said, I'm leaving school. I don't know. He said something that was like not important. And I said, okay, thanks for letting me know. And I thought, I'm not going to be the one to tell this guy, you can't be here. And then he left. But it was one of those moments where literally my blood ran cold. And I stopped breathing for a second because it was like, oh my God, there's, he's like here. And I think and we had no training at that point. They had no training for teachers on how to deal with that. And this was like probably nearly 20 years ago at this point. But, sending out an email to tell teachers, if you see him on campus, tell him not to be there. I'm like, right. He shot at his girlfriend. Why wouldn't he shoot at me? And thank God he didn't do anything. He just came to my classroom. But he came to my classroom after that happened.
To answer your question, we have not taught SKC. SKC is, I found out after reaching out to LSU, a sister program to SKC. So they come up to SKC and do their trainings for them. I did also want to add, we did reach out to, excuse me, Stu Lovett in legal to kind of draw up a waiver, for people to sign, when we come to your department. We're not responsible for anything that may get broken. Because people do pick things up and actually throw things. When we're at Two Eagle, they did break a brand new table, a chair, so stuff does get broken. So I'm just waiting for Stu to finalize that. And on that same note, talking with Stu about it, he made some good points, and I can understand where he's coming from the legal side of it, protecting the tribe as well, but also kind of protecting us as instructors from while we're doing this is recommends that we stay on the clock doing this, so we're covered under insurance. If we do it outside, let's say Ronan School wanted this done, I think that's another thing we would have to discuss with that. Would they have to come through council, the chairman, the whole council to get that approval, kind of to branch out for us to teach them? Because like if I wanted to do it for them, me and James and Trevor wanted to do it for them on a Friday or not on work day, we do it to make extra money, right? And something happens to us, our insurance ain't gonna cover us. It'll be different liability. So there was just some different things that Stu brought up, which was a good, protecting the tribe and council and, us as individuals. So I guess that'd be another thing that we never thought about, outside entities from CSKT. If that's something that you guys would want us to teach, or should we recommend them come to council to get permission and you guys delegate it? Stuff like that, just Stu brought up, so.
I'd suggest you probably do it on a contract with them.
Yeah, I think it's great if you provide this to other people because, some of us have kids in the Ronan school or different places or, those kinds of things affect a whole community. And I would think the more people that have this training, the better off the whole community will be. Yeah, I think as a contract is a good idea.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, thank you. I know when we were worried about some of our staff in remote locations, like at the bison range, and we had like one clerk there working extra hours, or at Blue Bay, and they were, some weirdo would come in, or what we did was we asked Brandon Couture to do personal self-defense training also, so that they had a little bit of hand-to-hand combat type skill sets. I can't remember what all he did because I never did attend it. But the staff took it very well. And I don't know if that's something that you would maybe possibly do or add, or is that part of your training at all? It is?
Yeah, we would like to be able to do a little bit of self-defense. And to add to what you're saying, if that's something continuing on now, have them reach out to me or James, because we are working with Donnie, what's his last name?
Okay, sure, moment.
Donnie, his mom is Mary Cole, teaches Krav. So he's working with us because security doesn't have a budget. He wanted to charge us, but he's working with us. So he's teaching. I haven't, not this go around, being busy with other things, but James and the rest of the staff haven't been able to go Mondays and Wednesday mornings with him for an hour and a half. So he's working with us on self-defense.
So you guys, I'm wondering if other people pay for this, if that could go into your budget. For you to do, I don't know, other stuff, or like you said, paying someone to do that, or I mean, so some departments like the Charcusta, they bring in money. And I just don't see why you guys couldn't make money from that.
What else you got, Leroy?
that was it. And I think, we're pretty much done. And I know the last time we came in with the budget, you guys did mention that there might be ways, but I'm just seeing if there's anything that you guys came up with, solution wise to help us with the budget to get the things that we needed, or I haven't found nothing yet.
I'm not aware of it yet. If anybody else is, but we'll be looking.
Yeah, I think for me to close out, my last thoughts is our goal, I think, is to give everybody the best chance of survival you can. And so one thing that I learned in my law enforcement military career is win. What's important now? And so giving people that winning mindset of our goal and our win, in order to win in this situation, is everybody goes home. And so what is important now to make that happen? Is it important right now to run? Is it important right now to hide? Is it important right now to fight? And so ultimately our goal is to reach as many people as we can, both within the tribal organization, and if opportunity presents and with your guys' blessing, outside of our organization in the community as well, because we have people that don't necessarily work here, but are our community members and they are here visiting. And so if they have that same training, same background, same mindset, then they can be an asset, even if they're not an employee here, just as members of our community. So that's all I have for my end, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, for my closing thoughts, is the same thing as his. It's just, we want to be able to make that mental toolbox so you guys have that readily available and be ready to act. And I also know I've had people reaching out to me because I've been talking to my wife about active shooter, and then just kind of going over stuff with her constantly, telling her, hey, be vigilant, always be this, be aware. And then just being prior military and law enforcement, again, my mindset is always head on a swivel, looking at everything. Where am I at? Why is my back? I don't like being in the middle of a room versus having the wall on my back so I can see everybody. But that's my mentality. I don't want you to think that, oh, you need to be paranoid. As this training is you're using the wrong P word. It's not being paranoid, it's being prepared. There's the difference. And then two, I've had people reaching out to me as an instructor saying, hey, I heard you're an active shooter instructor. Could you teach my department? I know the fire department down in Arley was asking if I could teach them. And I was like, ooh, I don't know. I'd have to get a permission before I could just go and teach you guys. But if you guys are willing, just let me know. If I get the okay, then I could definitely do it. But right now, I'm not going to say yes because I'm not there yet. But we're hopefully we can be there one day that we can be readily available and teach this to everybody, and not just one certain way. I don't know. That's just my closing thoughts.
Anything else? I'm sorry I missed the show, but I'm gonna see it. I know that, so.
No, I think that's it.
Jen?
I was gonna say, this is for James. I tried to donate to your GoFundMe, but it wouldn't let me. Can you kind of let them know what you were doing with that? Because I thought that was cool, so that's why I was trying to donate.
So what I'm doing right now for the month of May is a GoFundMe for Stop Soldier Suicide. It's a 50-mile ruck challenge. It's on my Facebook. I have a fundraiser page that's helping veterans receive mental health that they need, because veterans tend to be overlooked from society. And it's one of the things, and mental health in general, not just veterans suffer from it, but everybody can suffer from mental health. And then the stigma of asking for help. Everybody thinks it's weak. You're weak for asking for help because you couldn't get through that darkness by yourself. You're not a man, or you're not tough enough. It's okay to ask for help. And that's what I'm telling people. They need to ask for help. I suffered at one point. I was low. I had bad thoughts and they were dark, but then I told myself, you know, I need to be here. I am loved. That there are people that want me here. And that's what I try to advocate for. And that's what this month of May, I'm doing a 50-mile ruck challenge. And it's on my Facebook page. And then I post daily. Last couple of days, I started back up because I took 3-4 day hiatus from it. And then now I'm back to doing it again. And I'm at, I think, about 25 out of the 50 miles. Even if I hit my 50 miles, I'll probably continue to ruck until the end of the month, just because. And then I'm trying to raise, like I said, just raise money for veterans, and it's Stop Soldier Suicide. They help get help to veterans. And then two, like I said, I just want to be able to help people recognize getting mental health is not a weakness, and that to ask for help is not weak. And then veterans tend to do that where we say, I don't want to ask for help. I can do it myself. I did it by myself before. I can do it again. And it's not, we're not, I don't know, it's really hard because I know I still struggle with asking for help. And it's such a hard thing for me to say, hey, can you help? And, you know, being where I'm at now, I'm feeling very blessed with what I have and who I have in my life. And I'm just really happy where I'm at. So like Jen was saying, that's what's on my Facebook page, and it's a GoFundMe page for Stop Soldier Suicide.
No, thank you for that, James. Jennifer?
Yeah, I think that would be a good article for the newspaper, to have it in the newspaper, so.
It was back in 2023, I want to say. I did it, and that's when I first started, and then I had a slight lighter weight. I upped my weight now to 50 plus my pack, and so I'm like at 65 pounds, and it's suffer, and I'm like, oh, I hate this. Why am I doing this to myself? And then I'm like, oh, I know why. I'm raising awareness for people who can't. And then I tell people, if they want to join me, you don't have to carry the weight. I'll carry the weight for the both of us. All I want is you to be there walking with me. We can even talk. We can go at a slow pace. We don't have to go for a mile. We can go for half a mile, whatever you feel comfortable walking. I don't know. That's just something that I like to do. I've had a couple people. My daughter's been walking with me the last couple days. So we did 2 miles yesterday and 2 miles before. So.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think the discussion point of going outside of our tribal government organization is that I think it's an entire reservation community, and any public building or place where people gather is a place where we'd want to make sure that if it's possible to be able to train people in that location for active shooter, I think it benefits everybody.
Thank you, Leroy, and everybody. Glad for the presentation. And thank you for your service.
Thank you. I think we'll figure out how to save this so Jen can send it to you guys, the PowerPoint, the budget, and all that information. So I thank you guys. You guys will be able to watch the videos on your own, go through the PowerPoint, the whole PowerPoint, not just real fast. So it'll be for you guys as well. Thank you guys for your guys' time.
Thank you.